Transportation and travel evolution. Transportation and travel have undergone many changes. A review of the history of transportation and travel shows that their evolution took 7 eras. These are the pre-industrial travel system era, the early industrial travel system era, the mature railway system era, the express travel system era, the automobile-based travel system era, the modern tourism travel system era, and the post-mobility adjustment era.
Airline regulation. International tourism necessitates the establishment of an international air transportation system. This negotiation between state and carrier in the form of bilateral agreement are required under the system. All nations that a child will cross must grant permission to fly over them. When flying internationally, overnight charges are imposed on airlines or may be imposed in the future. Privilege of flying over other countries, even those with whom SMT has established diplomatic relations. Cuba and the United States, for example, have diplomatic relations with each other. Fuel lending right, purchase agreements, maintenance provisions, and other factor necessitable bilateral agreements. Negotiation.
Automobile-based travel system era. This influence of the privately owned automobile was enhanced in North America and Europe from 1920s onward. Car ownership boomed in North America. Motorways, interstate highways, and other trunk highways were developed in this latter half of this era, which was from 1920 to 1974. The automobile was predominant over other travel modes from 1920 to 1945. The period from 1945 to 1974 is known as the modern tourism travel system era. Car ownership continued to grow at a fast rate, mainly at the expense of long-distance rail travel. Mass air travel was another post-World War II occurrence. The introduction of wide-body jets in 1970 greatly increased air travel. The mass tourism, philosophy, and marketing approaches were prevalent during the 1950s and 1960s. Post-mobility adjustment era. This era began in 1973 to 1974 as a result of the oil embargo generated by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and the resulting increase in fuel prices. The events of the energy crisis basically changed the travel patterns throughout the world. The present era is one in which travelers continue to look to alternative, group-oriented modes of transportation.
Historical development of the transport system. Prior to World War I, it took 7 days for travelers to go from coast to coast by steam locomotive. By 1950, travelers could complete the journey in 2.5 days by train. In 1938, an airplane with a speed of 400 miles an hour made possible non-stop flights of less than 8 hours. Pre-industrial travel system era. This was the era of the stagecoach and the wayside inn. It was before the development of railways in the two continents. Travelers made their own arrangement with several suppliers. Only few people had the money to travel and the reason to go out and explore.
Early industrial travel system era. During the era, road improvements such as railways, canals, and steamship services were brought about due to rapid industrialization and advance in transportation technology. Common carriers came into existence and began to offer regularly scheduled transportation services. Travel increased because more people who had money traveled. Mature railway system era. This era was characterized by railways which expanded their operation by running hotels and providing other travel-related services. The railways began to market their services more aggressively. Travel agencies and tour companies were formed. Railways stretches its hand in conducting activities like business, sightseeing, pilgrimage along with transportation of goods. It is easier for long-distance travel. plays a vital role in national integration. It strengthened the development of the industry and agriculture.
Good morning, my name is Jessica Valeroso. For this part, selection of transformation mode. There are many reasons why people select one transportation mode over another for their business and pleasure trips. The most common reasons are cost, traveling time, safety, convenience, comfort, availability, frequency of trips, ground services, terminal facilities and locations, status and prestige, and departure and arrival times. People belonging to different travel segments have different value and perceptions. For example, the time spent in traveling as well as departure and arrival times are very important to the business traveler, while the cost of the trip is the traveler's primary consideration. Number 1, travel by train. Stimulated travel within the United States, Canada, and Europe in 19th and early 20th centuries. The train was instrumental in stimulating the development of many seaside and resorts in Britain. And second, Tres Grandes Vities. The popularity of the train system in Europe has increased not only because of its quality and efficiency, but because of the use of the Eurail Pass. And third, travel by ship. Travel by ship preceded travel by train, but it was not until the middle of the 19th century that travel by ocean liners began to become prominent. Ocean liners were used to provide an important link to passengers among continents. At present, water transport has two major roles in travel and tourism: ferrying and cruising. And fifth, cruise ship. Short duration cruises are more popular because they require less vacation time and are less expensive. Other reasons are travelers can satisfy their desire to experience new environments and see new cultures and still bring with them the comfort, safety, and convenience of home. And sixth, travel by automobile. The introduction of the automobile brought about the decline of the train's popularity in most developed countries. The advent of the automobile spread the benefits of tourism more widely and enabled people to travel individually or in private smaller groups. The automobile brought about a more random pattern of travel movements, opened up new destinations, and hastened the development of elaborate networks of automobile-oriented facilities and services along highway and roads. And seventh, travel by bus, motor coach. The terms bus, coach, and motor coach are used interchangeably in North America and elsewhere. The bus performs two major roles. The first is to provide a regular schedule of intercity passenger transportation services. The second is to provide charter and tour services. Intercity service is indirectly competitive with private auto, rail, and air service. And lastly, travel by air. The airplane had a revolutionary impact on tourism from World War II onward. The history of air transportation can be divided into three parts: pre-World War I, World War II, and post-World War II. On December 17, 1903, the Wright brothers took a flight on a beach in North Carolina which lasted 12 seconds with a distance of 120 feet in 1927. The air industry developed regularly scheduled passenger trips between Boston and New York.